I'm Rashonda. I'm the creator of artbyro.com, where you can find over 200 art and drawing tutorials, as well as this YouTube channel. Today we're going to be doing some simple little flower doodles that you can use to embellish other artwork, or maybe if you want to make some cards, or just something to do just to mindlessly doodle some little drawings of flowers. So we are going to head over to the art studio and get started on that. And if you enjoyed the video, please give us a like and also subscribe if you want to get notified for future videos. Let's go ahead and go over to the studio and get started. In today's video, we're going to be drawing some flower doodles, and I'll show you several different variations of this. There's tons and tons of different ways that you can draw little flower doodles. These are great for beginners. They're meant to be just quick, not really thought intensive, just let things flow how they go and not overthink what you're doing. So today what I have is just a scrap piece of copy paper, and I have just a permanent marker. This is a fine point. You could use a brush pen. You could use markers. You could use a pen. You could use an ink pen. It doesn't really matter. You could use whatever you wanted. You could use a brush pen. However you want to do these, you could do them in color. I'm just doing them in black today just to keep things simple and to give you some ideas of some different types of flower doodles you could draw. So let's go ahead and get started. The first one I'm going to do is just kind of a swirl design. And I will try to draw these big enough that you can see. Typically these doodles are not super big. They're usually, doodles are typically a little bit smaller. So you just start with a swirl and connect it. And then you can draw some leaves coming off of it, and you can do the leaves however you want. You can do them in the same area, just overlapping. You could do other ones down here. It's up to you, and you could do whatever you want around it. You could put some little swirls, like little vines going like it's growing on a vine. There's other little embellishments you can do as well. So the next one I'm going to do is a little bit more complicated. We're going to do a big circle for the center, and then we're going to draw kind of bigger petals going around. Now when you do these, this paper's kind of big for this. When you're doing these, there's a lot of different ways you can make your petals, different shapes that you can make the petals. So feel free to draw different variations of the flower designs and experiment a little bit and see what you can come up with. So this one's kind of a sunflower type drawing. So we'll do the center of the flower and put some seeds in here. And then again, you can add some leaves if you want. You can make them bigger. You can do them wherever you want. Have some coming off to the side. I'm not going to get too much into drawing all the leaves and embellishments. You can play around with some different ideas. For this next one, I want to show you an idea for a little bit of some variation on what we did previously. So we can start with the swirl for the center. You can do, typically you're going to have circles or swirls for the center if you have that shape of a flower, something that where we're looking at it with a center. So maybe something that wouldn't have that would be like a tulip or like a rosebud. But we can do petals that are square instead of your typical rounded petals that we would think of. And you can make these different sizes. Flowers in nature do not have petals that are all evenly spaced, and they're not all the same size. They have some variation to them. So here's the squared off petals. And then another thing you can do, and I'm going to get a smaller pen because this one's kind of wide. Something you can do to add a little bit of variation to your flowers is to put an extra line around the outside. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be all evenly spaced. It doesn't matter if you run into your original line. I actually think it looks more interesting when you have that variation. And you could do these with squiggle lines too, and not just having straight lines. You could make these wavy as they go around. And then you can add, so sometimes it's good to have two different pens, ones with different thicknesses. You can add some lines in here. And then again, we can put some leaves coming off different places. And then you could also switch pens and do the veins or whatever those are called inside with a thinner pen. So think about using combinations of thick and thin pens. That can add some good variation to your drawings. So let's do another, and these are all, they're very simple. That's the point. Doodles should be easy. They should feel easy. Another way we can do our drawing, our flower doodle, is to draw your circle and then just keep continuing in these little arches around until it all connects. And of course you can do some different things in the inside. You can draw like we did here. You can draw some lines here, and you don't have to do every one. They don't have to all be the same. We could do the stem coming down, put our leaves off of the stem, and again you could switch pens and do some lines that are thicker, lines that are thinner. So I'm just trying to give you some ideas of different types of flower doodles that you could draw. So you have some different ways of doing the inside. We looked at some different ways of doing the petals, and you could look at photographs of flowers, so get some reference photos and look at actual flowers and look at how could you simplify those, how could you make them easier. That's another way to come up with your own flower doodle designs. So now let's look at a different type of a flower design, something that wouldn't have the center that we were talking about earlier. You could do a simple rose, a rosebud type drawing. So you would swirl around and then just bring that down, and that's your simple rosebud doodle. And then of course you could do a vine, or you could do a stem if you wanted to do a stem with some leaves coming off of it. A lot of different things you could do to finish it up. But that would be a good starting point. Maybe you could play around with doing a whole bouquet of them. Have a bouquet of flowers might be interesting. You could try doing these in different colors. You could try outlining them in different colors and coloring the insides in. There's a lot of different ways that you can draw these with a lot of variation. All right, now let's try something that's a little bit more complex, Still pretty easy. We don't want anything being too difficult when we're doing doodles. Doodles are supposed to be just kind of mindless drawings that you're not really putting too much thought into. You're distracted, you're doing other things at the same time. But let's go ahead and start with that swirl for the center. But let's make this one a little bit bigger with extra swirls from what we had on the other one. And then we want to do our petals. So we're going to do just some simple arch type petals. And I have some space in between these, but you could also do this without any spaces in between. Either way would be fine. And then I think for the insides of these, I'm going to use my thinner pen. And I'm just going to put some little swirl shapes inside here. And you could try doing this with different colors. You could try using a combination of black and red or black and purple, purple and red, purple and pink. So we just got some little swirls in there. And then of course, like with our other ones, we can do some leaves in here. And then once you add some color, it'll really liven this up, make it more interesting. Adding colors is optional, but that's an easy way to take your doodles to the next level, would be simply by adding some color to your flowers. And then of course you can do any other little embellishments like vines, maybe some additional flowers coming off the edge. You could do just some simple little designs coming off of here. You want to keep it pretty basic, pretty simple, nothing too complex. Just think about lines and shapes that you can add to it. So I think we're going to wrap this up with that one. You have a lot of different options that I've given you, hopefully some ideas of different things you can try on your own and experiment with this. And that's it. So I will see you in the next video. Happy creating! Well, that's it for today's tutorial. Don't forget to check out the description box for additional information and resources. And don't forget to give us a like if you did enjoy this video, and also subscribe to get notified for future videos when they get uploaded. I will see you in the next video. Bye!